I feel like I look less tired than last week. What's up, Internet? I'm Wes Mandible, and I just got here. Welcome. It is March 7th of 2024 at the time of recording this, which means it's the 8th today when it came out, right now, in present day. Not right now, on the 7th right now. So that's nice. So I guess we'll get right in. The biggest thing that hit my radar this week, which I told myself this wasn't going to be a current events podcast, but it's really not anything else either, so it's got to be a little bit of everything. So yesterday, as of today, 3/6/2024, I saw that the armorer on the set of Rust, the Alec Baldwin film, was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, which is like, I mean, it's been a little under 3 years since that happened. That was around September or October, I think, of 2021. If it wasn't fall, then it was like early winter. It was somewhere in there. One of the things that has never been quite clear on this case, and I hear from multiple sources, is people often condemning the set for having live ammunition in the gun in the first place. And I've heard it both ways, where it's either there was live ammo in the gun, and then there's the other side that the blanks were faulty. And up to this point, I've been under the impression that the blanks were faulty and they were reported faulty and they were ignored. And I don't even know who or what to believe at this point. We just know that whatever was in the gun killed somebody, right? So I don't disagree with the fact that they are pressing charges on the armorer, but I guess just as the bystander, I do find it hopeful that she was held responsible, but I hope that it doesn't stop there, because at the end of the day, this isn't just on her. I think a problem that has plagued Hollywood and just production is you have people that will get on these projects and they show up and they're an actor like Alec Baldwin, and they say, yeah, like, I'll do this part, and also I want the producer credit, and then they just like don't produce. Now, obviously, I wasn't on that job, so I can't speak to that, but that's such a commonplace thing for like lead actors to get a producer credit, or for them to get a, whatever, like just that, like, oh yeah, just tack it on, it's in the contract, and maybe that bumps their pay. They get paid in a few different ways, or whatever they work out with the company for that movie. But it's like you're tacking your name onto this whole project, and then when you have all these safety concerns and all these things that like they were completely disregarding as production, turnaround times were terrible on this project. From what I heard, people literally walked off set. Like, I think from what I was reading, the cinematographer Alina Hutchins, who died, was trying to replace her 6-person crew of her department, like, because they just walked off, like they were done. And and then we had this whole, the armorer who was there, she shouldn't have been the armorer in the first place. That doesn't mean that she's immune from accountability, because she was still the armorer. You have all the room in the world to say, you know what, I don't feel like I'm set up for this job. I don't think that, we're setting ourselves up for success, and I'm not going to do this job. I'm not saying that's an easy position to be in. I'm not saying that at all. That is a very difficult place to be, and it is extremely uncomfortable to have to stand your ground like that. But that's the only thing that can give you any kind of immunity like that, is to just say, hey, I'm done with you guys. Like, and in normal circumstances, that might get you in a lot of trouble in your town. But obviously, we have the gift of hindsight at this point where we know that would have been the right call. And, you know, we've all been in situations, maybe not as drastic as this, but it's like if we could just go back and make that one different choice, things would be so much different for us. And it's like we wouldn't have to deal with X, Y, or Z. And, you know, I feel for the people that didn't tap out when they should have, you know, this armorer in particular. But I do think that it's important that the accountability still follows through. And following up from that, you know, every statement we have from Alec Baldwin is just adamant that he didn't pull the trigger and that he, you know, that he didn't do anything wrong, that it's not his fault. And it's like, dude, I understand that it was an accident. We all understand it was an accident, but that doesn't mean you didn't do it. And I think part of the importance of this following through and Hutchins' family getting justice that they deserve is that we need to like strike this attitude that you can just tack your name onto these projects as a producer and not be a producer. And like you can't just disregard the safety of your crew. You can't just disregard your turnaround times. You can't deny people, you know, their safety hotels. Like, I mean, it's like you can't do that. Because the problem with that is when you're a producer, like you're being promoted to a producer, right? Any job that you're increasing your standing or you're promoted, that's more pay for more responsibility. And this is responsibility. This is responsibility. You are at the point where it is time to take responsibility for the job that you did or that you didn't do. And when you do that and somebody gets shot by either a malfunctioning blank in a gun or a real piece of ammo in a freaking, you know, in a gun on set, and you made a choice to say, hey, we're going to use real guns on set, regardless of how that malfunctioned in the first place, instead of, hey, I'm a producer on this movie, and maybe I should take the responsible actions here and say, hey, how can we make this a safe process? How can we dial this in? Because now we're here. Like, I don't know, you know, how much more you can like run away from it. Like, I mean, it is 100% what is deserved at this point. Like, I think that anybody on that production that is found guilty 100% deserves it, because it's just negligence across the board from everybody. That production was such a mess, and it's just insane. I really hope that they get that sorted out, but it doesn't need to be this whole like, Alec Baldwin doesn't need to come out and say, I'm a bad person and I am a murderer and I, you know, like, oh, and I, you know, it's like you didn't premeditate an act, but you made several mistakes that led up to this. I think the icing on top of the cake is that Baldwin wasn't even supposed to be playing with the gun in the first place. He was given the gun for the shot that they were about to do, and then he starts like pointing the gun around. Like, what are you, like, that is so far from set etiquette with a firearm. That is so far. Like, they weren't even ready to go. I mean, it sounds like they were on rehearsals, which is like that the armorer would have brought him the gun at that point and done their whole, you know, thing. I couldn't even imagine being in that position where you're talking to your director and you're focused on what you're doing, and then you get shot. Like, I mean, that's just, and I can't imagine being in anybody's position that day. Literally anybody. I couldn't imagine being the cinematographer. I couldn't imagine being the director, because he was hit too, which is where I'm confused by this whole live ammunition talk, because the bullet's not going to split. I mean, you know, I don't know. I'm whatever. I'm not a forensics analyst. I'm not a lawyer either. So, I mean, you know, what do I know? I don't even have arms on this chair. Like, I I couldn't imagine being even Baldwin in that scenario where it's like, oh, I was playing with a gun that I shouldn't have been playing with. Like, I wasn't even supposed to take it out in this shot, according to the script. And it's like, I just think that it is important that we nip this idea that you can just tack your name onto projects and not take responsibility in the bud. I think it needs to go away. I don't think if you are not producing or if you are not taking care of the crew in some facet, just you have no business being a producer at that point because you came and you hung out in the studio during development. So you get a little, extra credit for your IMDb. Anyway, I guess that's really all I have to say about that particular subject. I felt like I had more to say last night, but that kind of covers it. Anyway, on a completely different subject, something I wanted to touch on because it was profoundly impactful to me growing up is Rooster Teeth yesterday on the 6th of March announced that they will be closing their doors, which is huge because they have been around for over 20 years. I think 21 years was their total run as a company, all the way from Red versus Blue back in 2003. But I think they were even trying to do stuff before then. I mean, I always had it in my mind 2001, but 21 years ago is 2003. So if my math checks out, just the people that walked through those doors, lots of filmmakers and a huge legacy in the podcasting world, which is still going. I mean, so from everything I can tell, the network that Rooster Teeth has created, the Roost Network, it seems like is going to be basically the primary firing function. Which I know there's a lot of like creators out there that like to make kind of commentary videos on different YouTube channels, which is not unlike what I'm doing right this second, but that's like all they do. And you'll see a lot of people that will make like the rise and fall of Rooster Teeth, and that was before they officially announced, their closing. I think that was something a lot of people skipped over, that Rooster Teeth was a very successful video company for a long time, but there was a very clear shift that I saw from where they were putting their focus, because it was like they started to make more podcasts, and the videos on YouTube were getting less views, and a lot of people seemed to like kind of check out from the Rooster Teeth website and that kind of thing. I really started to feel that in the most recent months, where they were really promoting their personal patronage service on their website. But I mean, I kind of saw this transition coming for a while. I'm a little surprised that they're not holding the Rooster Teeth IP and just fully transitioning to podcasting with that. But at the same time, that is owned by Warner Bros. Discovery, so I'm not totally shocked to see that. But I don't know. It's a shame to see it come to an end, but also not totally surprising. I think as an animation studio, they had their run for sure, and they managed to eke out at the last minute. They got their Red versus Blue final season on the way out, so I think that was one of the telling signals when they said the final season of Red versus Blue was coming out, because that was always what they said, was that as long as people wanted to watch it, they would make it. And so I think in that kind of Simpsons way, that it's like as long as people are watching it in some facet, they were going to keep going. But clearly we're at the point where that runs over, and that's okay. I'm looking forward to seeing how it tied up. I personally, all of the supplemental stuff they put out after, what was that, season 10? I can't remember what season it was, but the one that was before the anthology season, which I did watch the anthology season, I suppose, but the one before that, where they kind of like left it on sort of this upswing cliffhanger, it was really good, and I just kind of, that's kind of where the show stopped for me personally. But that obviously doesn't make that canonical. So yeah, I think that's really cool that they have this big legacy. They're such a huge, influential company, I think, on the internet. Whether people on the internet realize it or not, I just think that they had such a huge footprint in the way that the internet entertains, or at least how the internet entertained for a while. They were a very early integrator of things like patronage, subscriptions, just kind of like crowdsourcing your entertainment for your audience. And I don't know. I think that there's always been a lot to learn from that company, and the founders in particular. So very excited to see what everybody does next. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are still doing podcasts in that network. So we'll continue to see what they're doing. If people aren't aware of the Roost Network, absolutely go check everything out that they're doing. I think that they've always had a really good grasp on podcasting and what that should look like, and just I think that it's just something they've always done really well. So, and really, it's kind of why I'm here at all. So, and why I hope I'll be around for a long time. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, so just want to put that little respect out there to Rooster Teeth. We salute you, and we thank you for the years and years of free content that you put out to the people. And shout out to the sponsors too, the people that like sponsored the content over the years. Because there were people like myself who just didn't have money. I was a young lad that shouldn't even be watching Red versus Blue, and I learned all my swear words from Michael Jones. Michael Rage Quit Jones. Rip in peace, but man, like, not gonna be sad because it's gone, but I'm gonna be happy because it happened. So anyway, I think that's gonna do it for us today. That was lovely to catch up this week with you, my friends. And dude, shout out to everybody that's like giving love on the last episode. I think it's because it's kind of current. We're talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, so that probably helped a little bit. We'll see you this time next week. We'll do it again. So yes. All right, that's it. Bye.